Hey, how you doing, guys? This is another interview special with me, Gene, from the Waffle Press podcast, and I'm joined by our friend of the show. He's been a guest here often. We have the challenge guy from the Infographics Show, who's telling us about his latest challenge, and he's with us today. How are you doing?
Hey, Gene. And what's the name of your guys' fans?
Hmm.
Call our people info fans. What do you guys
Info
call them?
fans?
Waffle pressers?
Yeah, we could call them that, or just waffle fans, waffle heads.
Waffle heads. I like waffle
Waffle.
heads.
Yeah. I have to ask everyone on our Discord what they want to be called, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think waffle heads. I think that works for them right now.
waffle heads. I like that.
hmm Yeah, I mean, you love waffles, right?
Who doesn't?
They're a great source of protein, but
They're a great source of delicious.
hmm but yeah, last time we had you on, we were talking the Bigfoot challenge. That was a big hit. I certainly love Bigfoot. You love Bigfoot, and a lot of random people on the internet love Bigfoot too. So,
Yeah, I've seen that. That was a pretty popular episode, actually.
hmm yeah, it seemed to go really well. And going off of that, we have another sort of discussion on another topic, which you guys were doing a challenge on, and it's more paranormal than Bigfoot, which we discussed in the last episode.
hmm
It's on ghosts. What can you what's the spiel of this challenge? Tell us that as we have you here.
So, the producers know that I'm not a big fan of ghosts,
hmm
which naturally meant, hey, let's send the challenge guy to one of the most haunted places on earth. So they uh, they sent me to Waverly Hills Sanatorium in Kentucky, the abandoned hospital from the 1930s, 1920s or so during the tuberculosis epidemic.
hmm
And the team got locked up overnight and spent the whole night sort of investigating the sanitarium.
And locked up. I always wondered because I watch Ghost Hunters, Paranormal Witness, what have you. Do
hmm
they physically lock the doors on you on a place like that, or is that just kind of a point of expression?
Oh no, these doors were locked.
Ooh,
Like they
okay.
were, yeah. The only way out I think that we found would have been through like one of the bathroom windows or something. I mean, there's like we had like a caretaker
hmm
slash pseudo tour guide in there with us in case the building caught fire or something. But
Yeah, man, I hope that guy gets paid a lot to to
yeah,
caretake
because
this. Yeah.
his name was Vince. His name was Vince. He was a really cool guy, and yeah, I mean, he does that pretty frequently because they open the place up to overnight stays,
hmm
and he'll either like come along and help you out, like show you places to hit up or help you catch EVPs and stuff, or if you want to do the solo thing, he'll just kind of chill in his office. That's kind of what he did with us. It's our own group investigating, so he kind of chilled in the office the whole time and came out once or twice when like something really spooky happened. I'm like, what the hell was that?
hmm we're gonna have to ask you more about Vince, but going into this challenge, what were your you described that you're not a big fan of ghosts, but um do you have any ghost stories, anything like that, or what was your initial sort of skepticism on ghosts? Because yeah, they're pretty. I mean, I have one or two ghost stories I could say, but yeah, I just want to hear your thoughts.
So I think we talked either during the last during the Bigfoot interview, or maybe just you and I talked on our own that the reason why people don't believe in Bigfoot's more an emotional choice than
hmm
a logical one at this point, given all the evidence the good evidence that exists. And I feel that way about ghosts. It's a more emotional choice that I didn't want to believe in them before this trip. even though I had a very blatant ghostly encounter, I guess.
Okay.
Um, it happened when I was in the military, and my unit at the time, we operated at night, and so we trained at night, and we were training. I have to be real careful because I'm still under a 30-year non-disclosure contract.
It's like it's almost up, right?
um, we were training recovery and recapture operations on a specific location inside a restricted area, and when we were done, we were waiting outside for our supervisor to come. Who He'd been kind of out in the desert where he could kind of get an overview of everything and see everything going on, so he could critique it.
Mhm.
So we were waiting for him to come in out of the desert, and we're kind of just chilling behind this facility. This place got a bit of lore to it. If I said the name of where this place is at, people would be like, "Oh yeah, that place is crazy, like aliens, ghosts, whatever." But I didn't really ever pay any attention to it. I don't think any of us did. And we're sitting there waiting. Um, Suddenly, on one of the small buildings in front of us, this figure is kind of standing there, and it looks like it's watching us. And then we kind of look at it, and it starts walking back and forth on the roof, and it's just a solid black figure. And this is like 2 in the morning or so, so the fact that it's solid dark doesn't really mean anything. We just figure, we can't see up there, so it's just all shadowy. So we all assume that this is our master sergeant, and so I take my spotlight and I go ahead and shine it up there so I can confirm that it's him. And as soon as that light hits the figure vanishes into thin air right in front of, like, I think there was 30 of us out there at the time. And it was
Spooky.
just this it was this sort of moment where you're like, what? like,
Yeah, like what the fuck?
like you just saw something that shouldn't be possible, and so it just kind of leaves you like dumbfounded. But yeah, I don't know. I just, even though like I saw that with my own eyes, like I always just like, nah, it's no ghosts. Like there can't be ghosts. And yeah, this trip changed my mind, man.
Yeah.
I'm a convert.
Well, let's go into the lore of this place, the Waverly Sanitarium. Looking at it, I felt that this place was oddly relevant in terms of what we're going through right now with COVID and a pandemic. What can you tell us a little bit about the lore? Because I was looking it up and it seemed pretty fascinating that it was just this becomes this the scare was it the most haunted place in America after all these deaths that happened there after all these like terrible health practices. Tell us a little bit more about that.
So I'm gonna try to remember accurately some of the stuff that we were told when we first
Sure.
got there. But the place was opened, I believe it was back in like the mid 1920s, and it was a treatment facility for tuberculosis. Since it's such a virulent disease, they had to kind of concentrate where they treated people for it. And they didn't really have good treatment for a disease like TB back then. So
Yeah.
it was more a place people went to die and not infect others. To be honest with you,
Yeah.
uh,
To like isolate and keep
yeah,
them. Yeah.
exactly. Like the survival odds were not great, and it was also kind of a research facility where they tried out different treatments and new treatments. There was one that our tour guide slash caretaker told us about, which was particularly horrific,
Oof.
and they would do it when like the victim was kind of on their last legs, like their last chance basically. And what they would do is they would actually remove ribs from the side. They would cut the ribs out of the body, to relieve pressure on the lungs and
Hmm.
try to help the person be able to actually breathe. And the surgery itself was had a really low survival rate,
Yeah.
but people did survive, and we saw photos of people like their bodies kind of deformed by the
Geesh.
removal
Treat.
of these ribs.
Damn.
They tried all kinds of stuff, sun lamps. They were really big on like lots of sunshine and fresh air to both keep spirits up, and also there's some healing properties to getting sunshine and fresh air. And so the front of the building's actually a giant solarium, so every floor has basically like a giant balcony on the front of the building, and patients would just get wheeled out onto this balcony right on their beds to spend basically the whole day kind of out there in the sunshine.
Hmm.
um, Sometime, I forget when it closed. I think in the 50s is when it finally closed. I can't remember the exact date when it closed, but then it reopened as a medical facility. I think it was in the 70s or 80s. I'm not sure. It reopened sometime near modern times, and then it ended up getting closed again, and then sort of abandoned, and it's kind of sat there, just decrepit until the Kentucky Historical Society took it over.
Yeah. And so when they take it over, do they is this because it's historical relevance? Is it because of the ghost presence there? Or is that just they just wanted to preserve it?
I think I think it's because it's a historical landmark. It's pretty famous place, but I also suspect that it's because they knew they could turn a profit on the place. I mean,
Yeah.
the show paid for us to go stay the night, get locked up overnight, and we're far from the only people that have done this.
Yeah. Yeah. I was reading Ghost Hunters was there. Many more paranormal hunters were there. So certainly does have some revenue built in for sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you don't have to be part of a TV show or something to go. I think it's only like $1,000 to spend a night.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. We were talking earlier off mic, but there's been an influx of TikTokers that go there.
I'm not. Ironically, even though my life is sort of based around social media, I
Mhm.
refuse to get on TikTok.
It's man, it's kind of it's an interesting app. I'll say that I have one. It's I don't know. It's an interesting app where yeah, I mean it's basically just edited videos, but it's
Hmm.
content for people with got some lower attention span to be
It's like
on.
the new Vine, basically.
Yeah, yeah, basically without as much the charm of Vine, which
Yeah,
RIP Vine, God bless it.
yeah.
But yeah, apparently a lot of TikTokers were there spelunking, spelunking, exploring it, putting TikToks of the history of it.
Hmm.
But that begs the question, and we'll go into this how you guys prepared. But would you recommend someone to go there by themselves, like these TikTokers were going?
You know, I would, um, I would and I wouldn't.
Hmm.
Like, it was a really cool experience getting locked up there overnight. It really was. Um, but it does come with some risks, and I never thought I would say this,
Hmm.
because now we're getting
Inter-
into like woo territory.
Interesting.
But something specifically happened with me that made me kind of realize like, oh, there's some risk to going to places like this, and I don't think I wanna say what happened exactly because it's kind of the finale of the episode.
Yeah.
But my only regret is that when it happened, we didn't have cameras rolling.
Ah.
We had just gotten out of there, like we were beat. We'd spent like I think 8 hours in there from uh, 8 a.m. to 4 a.m. we were tired. We stayed up the whole night, and we honestly, like, we were off property. We weren't even on property anymore. We were off property, and we thought, it's over. We don't need to record anything. Let's just pull over real quick and kind of sage ourselves because Matt wanted to sage everyone. Matt's back for this challenge, and then something happened, and it yeah, everyone
Okay.
saw it happen, and we should have really had cameras rolling for it. But it made me realize there's a risk to going to places with this type of energy, I guess.
Yeah, with the reputation.
Yeah.
So a good recommendation from the challenge guy: don't go alone.
Yeah, don't go alone.
Yeah. And going into that, how did you guys prepare for this? What equipment did you use? How did you coordinate this trip? Who did you choose as your like your party, like in D&D?
um, Matt was kind of the brains behind this one because he's done a bunch of ghost hunting before. He used to, when he lived in Michigan, he used to go around to like all the historical sites. I think he told me he went to Pennsylvania Penitentiary or someplace over there on the East Coast. It's real famous for being haunted too. So he kind of took point on this one as far as equipment, and we had. It's funny because we had a bunch of equipment, and we completely forgot to use most of it.
So like the EPK and all that?
Yeah, we had a EMF meter, which is supposed to measure electromagnetic radiation. I'm not a fan of that, and by the time this episode comes out, the Proctor Valley challenge that we did should also come out.
Hmm.
And in that challenge, we had a EMF detector as well, and I made it very clear that I was very skeptical of EMF meters because they're stray, electromagnetic radiation all over the place.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Yeah, exactly. But we had an EMF detector, and we had multiple recorders, which ended up being a really good thing because we picked up an insane. We actually picked up more activity on the recorders than we could fit on the show. Like we had each team had a handheld recorder, and then we had recorders recording audio only set up throughout the building. And there was one room in particular that was just insanely active. They had warned us that that room was particularly active. I didn't really believe it because, again, I'm going in here really skeptical.
Yeah.
And we just picked up an insane amount of activity on those recorders.
Yeah, I
So,
was watching some of the Instagram videos you had, and that was very unsettling.
yeah, it's pretty creepy when you're sitting here listening, with headphones to this white noise from a recorder just going for like 8 hours at a time, and then all of a sudden there's moaning. All of a
Mhm.
sudden there's like stuff being knocked around when you can hear that for like an hour before nobody came near that room, and then out of the blue you just start hearing these noises. It's just pretty unsettling.
Yeah. And do you think going into the equipment, like recording, leaving stuff open, do you think that's almost like an invitation to some of these entities or ghosts? What are your thoughts on that?
That's something that I was kind of debating internally. Like there's only two possibilities, right? Well, I guess there's three possibilities. The first possibility is we hoaxed the whole thing. I can tell you we didn't, but I can't prove to you we didn't. You weren't
Yeah.
there with me. Um, I'm thinking of making the recorder audio publicly available for the fans so that they can listen for themselves and see that there was not a team member anywhere near the recording locations when all this activity was getting picked up. But so the two possibilities in my mind that exist are that the recorders wear an invitation, which means that there's intelligence behind this, and that they know that they're being recorded if this is their chance to be heard, if you will. Or the other possibility is that this stuff just happens. and it's not related to whether you put a recorder there or not. So then that got me thinking, well, what other stuff just happens all the time that we're not recording? In your own house, maybe is there
Mhm.
noises happening when you're gone? Is there something knocking on walls when you're gone? So I don't know. I don't know if like the recorder triggered activity or if this was just stuff that happens anyways, whether someone's listening or not.
Yeah, I mean, I had a few ghost stories of my own where my previous apartment there was you know s- uh my roommate he said he saw like some dark shadows and things like that, and I kind of chalked it up to like, okay, he was like half asleep. But I was walking by one day by a shelf and there was a Funko Pop, and I look at it and nothing out of the ordinary. I look to my right and I hear a thud. The Funko Pop has launched itself across the room. It's landed like a couple feet away from me. It's not like it fell, it was like launched. So it's like whatever was in that house, something wanted me to be drawn to it, to that, drawn to attention there.
Hmm.
So I think my gut says that they would be trying to get some sort of like reaction out of you, like some sort of like make some sort of contact almost, I would say.
Yeah, that would make sense, right? Like otherwise, why you know, like why do something that's just so creepy?
Yeah. Well, it's like, why
You know?
tell a joke with no audience?
Yeah, exactly. My best friend actually has had a bunch of activity recently at her
Right.
place,
Ooh.
including things getting launched like that.
Yeah.
And she's had stuff happen in front of groups of people.
Hmm.
So she was kind of joking around. She's like, "You guys should shoot your next episode here at my place." I was like, "That's not a terrible idea because this place is crazy haunted."
Dang. Is it like an old building or some sort of?
No, not even. It's a kind of a really cute little Mediterranean style apartment.
Hmm.
Um, she's had a few deaths in the family lately,
Okay.
so she thinks that it might be related to that. But
Hmm.
yeah, she's had some pretty blatant stuff happening in front of
Yeah.
people.
Well, hopefully she's okay, but yeah. Let's talk about some of the other shows like Ghost Hunters. We were talking about other Bigfoot hunters when we did the Bigfoot episode. What is because you see a lot of shows like on A&E, I don't know, like History Channel or whatever, where they're this feels like a ghost hunting feels like its own like network almost. It feels a little like reality TV with some of the shows where
Hmm.
it really draws you in for the entertainment. But how do you feel about that? The diligence of some of these programs.
You know, I think we talked about this too on the during the Bigfoot interview, but I'm super skeptical about any of these shows just because you and I both have friends that work on the production side of the
Yeah.
industry, and I know for a fact that some of these shows straight up fabricate things because I
Hmm.
know people that edit, for these shows.
Yeah.
Um, there's always the pressure of producing a watchable episode, you know. And one of the discussions that I had with our producer, which I know we talked about this during the Bigfoot interview because it was the same thing. It's like
Hmm.
I'm not gonna fake anything. You know, if we go out there and nothing happens, then you're gonna watch an hour-long episode of nothing happening, and if anything, you and I together will have debunked that this place is haunted, right?
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, I'm skeptical about these shows because there's pressure to produce content, and the more outrageous, the more creepy the content, the better, the more people that want to watch it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, certainly it's a market, and at the end of the day, they do need viewers to watch this in order to get renewed. So
Yep.
yeah.
By the
But
way, have you seen Alaska Killer Bigfoot yet?
No, I haven't seen it yet. I need to put that on my watch list. Is it on like Discovery Plus or something?
It is. Don't watch it. Don't support the show. Don't
Okay.
give them any views. Matt actually was just talking about this Sunday. It was, and he was like, because the show's fake.
Yeah.
It's you know
Clearly, yeah.
it's very obviously fake, and that kind of pisses me that kind of pissed me and Matt off because this is already a field that's prone to such ridicule. So he was like, "Hey, you know what? Like, Infographics has a lot of clout. Like, you should just kind of shit on the show and tell people not to watch it." And I was like, "You know what? You're right. Like, yeah, no, don't watch that crap. Like, don't
Yeah.
make crap like that."
Just go to use the account and be like, hey, want to watch a better show? And then quote tweet it.
Yeah, and stay away from that show like it was cancer.
All right. Well, we'll do. I'll just keep to my regimen of watching Bobo.
Yeah.
That's about it. Going back to the sanitarium, can you tell us? Because we were talking about the lore of the place. I was reading about the body shoot. Like,
Mm.
what kind of hospital thought that was a good idea? Because that just, I mean, we were talking about some of their procedures, but that just seemed just gross.
Man, that place. It's called the Death Tunnel officially.
Okay.
And yeah, that place that was so when we got there, we first got a tour from the caretaker slash tour guide, so we knew where everything was at. And after that, we split up into teams of two. And on the team this time, it was Matt. Matt's back. It was my friend Annie, who probably would have seen the Proctor Valley Challenge, Proctor Valley Monster Hunt episode. She joined us for this and that episode. And then we had Miss Oregon, a friend of mine, Tanita Morgan. Uh, she joined the team as well for this, and she'll probably be returning for future episodes. But we split up into groups of two, and so Tanita and I started at the bottom of the building and worked our way up, and then Matt and Annie started at the top and worked their way down. And so the first place Tanita and I went to was the Death Tunnel, and this place, man, this place is creepy to say the least. It's so it wasn't designed for moving bodies. Like that wasn't its purpose when the hospital was operational. It was actually a way to bring supplies up to the building from the bottom of the massive hill that it
Hmm.
rests on. So it's 1,000-foot tunnel that goes down at like a 30-degree angle or so, and supplies would just get brought up, and that way the behind the scene operations kind of stayed behind the scenes. What ended up happening though is that as the epidemic raged and the death toll climbed, people were dying. I think our tour guide told us it was like one a minute, basically. Like patients were
Wow.
dying one a minute. And so, in order to not affect the morale of the other patients, they started moving the bodies through that tunnel down to the bottom of the hill where family members or hearse would be waiting. And so the dead bodies would basically be out of sight of all the patients. And the way that the building's actually laid out, there's an elevator on each floor. It stops on each floor,
Mm-hmm.
and it conveniently stops right outside of like the procedure room and the surgery room. So if someone died even in surgery, or getting a procedure, they could just wheel them right around the corner, straight into the elevator, down to the basement level, and down the now the death tunnel.
Jeez. Was there any I mean, after they shoot them down the tunnel, is there anything that they would do to dispose the body if it was still contagious or anything like that?
I don't know. We didn't. Our tour guide didn't really tell us anything about that. Yeah, I don't know. I think so. They also have like a small morgue in there,
Mm-hmm.
and they have they used to have more, but they have those body cabinets where you put the body into.
Yeah.
So there might have been a holding period I don't know. I'm not sure.
Hmm. Well, that's just damn. That's really morbid as hell. Just the way they would you know deal
Yeah.
with these bodies. But yeah, that's well, yeah. Because I was just reading about that. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. It's supposed to be one of the most haunted locations on the facility, and
Yeah, it seemed like it lived up to that.
it definitely did. It was one of the places where we experienced the most technical glitches too.
Hmm. Okay, that's interesting. Without spoiling anything, can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, so we were warned that our electronics might malfunction in the building. Um, that's something you hear about every haunted location, though. So again, I was like, yeah, whatever. I've dealt with camera systems and recording systems for like 12 years now. Like, whatever. Um,
Wasabi batteries.
yeah, wasabi batteries.
Never use those batteries if anyone
Ever.
has a Canon camera. They're the
I,
worst.
I don't even know if they're still in business.
Probably not. Probably not.
but but yeah, sure enough, like we really inexplicable stuff. Like I had multiple times where I was recording, um, and something would happen, something very blatant would happen. We had an entire conversation take place right behind us, um, when we were moving as a group, and it was a crystal clear conversation. It was a male voice, and it sounded like it was literally right around the corner, maybe 30 feet away. And I was recording the whole thing, and then suddenly the file just I don't know how to describe it. It just disappears. It just my phone is no longer recording, and there is no file saved.
Oh, like a cyber ghost.
Yeah, I don't like that. That shouldn't. I mean, applications can fail and stuff, but it wasn't even just phones. It was on actual cameras too. Like the files would just cease to record and then not exist anymore. There would be no data saved whatsoever.
Wow. That's very sus. Very
Yeah,
sus.
and it raises more questions, like what exactly is this phenomenon that's causing this? Because I the cameras and the phones we use, that hasn't happened anywhere else. We've never had that phenomenon happen to files we record in literally any other location.
That's interesting. I mean, like, I can't think of any explanation for that. Not sure if, well, no. What do you think?
I mean, like, again, there's two possibilities. The one possibility is that it's a one in a million chance that these recording devices happen to all fail simultaneously, um, at the exact same time or within hours of each other, which is pretty far fetched. Not
Mhm.
impossible, but pretty far fetched.
Yeah, it's like when people are, when they talk about Bigfoot, it's like kind of excluding physical evidence that you could see.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The other possibility is that something was somehow manipulating our equipment.
Yeah, I mean, the most likely explanation right there.
It's the most plausible, and I say that still as a person that says that you need evidence to prove stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, going to just being in that hospital, what was like the vibe like? How was it staying like overnight, like not not being in this place that you don't never been before, kind of has this creepy sort of history. What was the take walk us through that, like just being in there for a whole night
You
without
know,
spoiling anything.
um, at first it was really creepy because there's no lights. The only light you get is flashlights that you bring. Um, there is an emergency exit sign on each stairwell, in front of each stairwell, so you always kind of have that as a reference point. and then there's the ambient light coming in because there's no windows on the entire front side of the building. Um, so at first it was really creepy, but then it just felt, I don't know. I told everyone, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm not scared. Like, I'm not feeling anything. Like, I'm really not feeling anything weird or creepy or anything. When everybody else was consistently talking about how scared they were and like how creepy this place was. And I think we figured out the reason why I was the one that was not
Hmm.
scared, and it's related to what happened immediately after we left. Which made me rethink the seriousness of going to places like this.
Yeah,
But
you're gonna have to tell me that off mic, but
yeah, yeah, I'll tell you, man. I really wish we were rolling cameras when it happened because
damn.
even I want the proof of it, even though I saw it happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, everybody else was basically pretty creeped out the whole time, and they're. I think what was the weirdest part about it is that the whole front side of the building is wide open. There's no windows or anything, so the wind blows and comes in. It's only the back half of the building where they've actually installed windows. Um,
Sounds very drafty.
yeah, very drafty, and we went in November, so it's a bit chilly. What's strange though, what was really strange is as we were walking through the building, there would be specific spots that were freezing cold, like absolutely just freezing cold.
Like unusually cold, like you feel this
Yes,
chill
to
out
the
of
point
nowhere.
of shivering.
Hmm.
You can see in one of the videos we shot, you can see Tanita actually begin to shiver. It was in one of the body cabinets. Um, when her and I were alone together, we went to the morgue immediately after the death tunnel, and when we had first checked out the building and saw the body cabinets, I was like, well, I'm gonna end up crawling inside one of those. And she's like, yeah, me too. And I was like, wow, all right, you go, girl. But yeah, she climbed inside one. You can see it on the video. She climbs inside of the bottom one, and she's totally fine. And then the moment she gets inside, like she just starts shivering, like her teeth are almost chattering as she's talking to me.
That's
Um,
creepy.
but this happened all throughout the building, and the whole front of the building is wide open to the elements. So it makes no sense that there'd be spots that were freezing cold, and then you could literally take two steps and just be normal.
Yeah. That's man, that's really creepy. I mean, literally unexplainable. But I was gonna say, most likely you're prepared for this trip. How do you talked about sage? How do you kind of protect yourself from any unwanted sort of presence? What did you guys have any preparation for that?
I don't know, man. I like I said, I went there as skeptic, so I didn't have anything. The whole staging thing was just something Matt wanted to do because Matt, believes a lot more in this stuff, and he's had his own experiences. And I'm glad he did the saging thing after
Yeah.
what happened when we left. I really am glad because it happened as he was saging me, and that's when everybody saw this thing happen. So it kind of proved that's what proved to me like you should probably take some precautions.
Yeah. And it smells nice too.
Yeah, and it smells nice. There you go.
Yeah. But no, that's a good teaser for that episode. Okay. I was
I
gonna
think
see.
Annie had
Mhm.
I think Annie had like some stones her mother had given her that they're supposed to ward off spirits. And they might have worked actually, because Matt and Annie got very little activity, while
Hmm.
Tanita and I got just insane amounts of activity.
Yeah, they really targeted you guys. It seems like.
They really did. Matt was even a little disappointed towards the end of the night. Like he told me, he was like, "Man, I feel like something about Annie and I is just shutting down activity because we're barely getting anything."
Hmm.
He had
Interesting.
a he had a theory that the activity was kind of centered around me.
Hmm.
And I thought it was a stupid theory, so we decided to test it. So we left the girls alone in one of the most haunted rooms in the whole location, and then him and I just walked down I think it was the fourth floor, which is also supposed to be pretty haunted. And Matt was like, "Okay, well, if the activity's tied to you, if it's following you for some reason, then we should see stuff, and the girls should be fine."
Yeah.
And sure as shit, man, like we went down 50 feet down that hallway, and immediately things started happening.
Ooh, like
Like,
what?
um, something ran through Matt, and
Hmm.
we have it on video.
Okay.
Sadly, because it's so dark, because again, this place is pitch black, and we weren't using night vision cameras. Keep watching these episodes, push the view counts up, and the show will finally invest in proper equipment, I'm sure. But
Uh-huh.
you can see it on the video as we're recording. We're walking down the hallway side by side, and suddenly you hear me and you see the camera shake from the surprise of it, but you hear me basically go like, "Holy shit." And what I saw with my eyes, which the camera couldn't see because eyes have a greater dynamic range than the camera does,
Yeah.
but what I saw with my eyes was this black figure crawl out of the room directly in front of us, and then just super fast crawl down the hallway straight at
Like
Matt.
crawl like say like the ring or Samara or someone.
I say crawl, but the way I described it to Matt was it was like a big black dog,
Hmm.
but it wasn't really a dog. It didn't even look like a dog. It was literally just a shadowy mass that came out of the room, and then just it was low to the ground, and it just shot straight at Matt. And you can see in the footage, you hear me yell out, "Holy shit!" And you see the camera shake because it scares the shit out of me.
Shit.
And then I whip around at Matt, and Matt immediately goes, "Whoa, I just got super cold."
That's fucking
That's
creepy.
exactly the moment that it goes through him, is when he
Oh,
remarks, "I'm getting so cold." Yeah,
that
and that
make
happened like within a minute of us leaving the girls behind.
Jesus. That yeah, that makes me very creeped out by this video, but I'm sure to check it out. But it's like man, that's unsettling.
Yeah,
I don't know how you like that would just creep me out. I'm like I kind of get a little squeamish on ghosts or just the mention of it. So
that
yeah,
was
and how do you like recover from that? Do you just like go off into the other room or just keep exploring or
you know I kind of said to myself like, there's never been any proof that a ghost has ever killed anyone.
yeah.
So I kind of just kept that in my head, like, okay, this just happened, but also no one died. So okay, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, maybe it's my past experiences also, but you just kind of get to this mindset where you harden yourself. You kind of steel your mind. You're like, okay, keep going.
Yeah. That's creepy. I was gonna say we were joking earlier about the movie Winchester or The Nun. Can you shoot a ghost? Would you recommend that? Because there's some I don't know if it's like a genre, but there's the last couple of movies I've seen with like paranormal ghosts and all that. They've like shot at it and they've killed it, and it's like what do you think that would be helpful?
It's funny because my friend, um, who volunteers at the same homeless kitchen I volunteer at, when we were talking about my trip, because we're gonna go back. We're not going back for the show. We're going back just for ourselves, for to have an adventure, I guess, because we're idiots. Um, but I was talking to my friend about it, and he's like, "Man, if I went, I'd make sure I was strapped." And I was like, "What are you gonna do with a gun? You gonna shoot a ghost? Like, what's that gonna do?" And he's like, "I don't know, but it'll make me feel better." So I think it's about making yourself feel better. I don't.
Ah,
I don't think you're gonna. I don't
yeah,
think a gun's gonna hurt a ghost.
yeah. Unless you have like holy bullets or something, it's like those.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Um, yeah, going off of that, have you seen any films? Because we've talked about we talked about we've talked about like just the movie depictions of some of these paranormal ghosts. That was just is there anyone that sticks out like that's the stupidest thing ever?
Anything from the asylum?
Oh man, I'm gonna plead the fifth there.
Yeah, because
Can't comment.
I know you were involved in some of those.
Yeah, yeah, I have yeah, I work there, so can't really go against my alma mater. But
Yeah, literally anything from the asylum. Trying to think if I've seen anything recently. I don't know. I don't think I've seen any scary movies recently.
okay. Kind of wrapping up here. I was interested in hearing more about the tour guide Vince. What can you say about him?
Oh, he was a pretty cool guy. Showed us around the building, and he had this motto of, if there's no documentation, then it didn't happen, which I kind of really appreciated because
Hmm.
dealing with ghosts and stuff, to it's easy to get carried away, and so he seemed very grounded in reality. He
Yeah.
just kept telling us like, this is what allegedly happened here, but what do we always say? If there's no
Hmm.
documentation, then it didn't happen. I really appreciated that. I was worried we were going to get someone that was like all woo woo,
Yeah, trying to pull your leg.
or just easily believe everything.
Yeah.
So I was glad that he was kind of
Yeah.
skeptic.
Did he have any like stories or anything, or like
Yeah, he
any?
definitely did. He actually showed us a photo that they took. I think it was the night before we showed up, or a few nights
Hmm,
before we showed up,
interesting.
and there was, if I remember right, it was a group of staff members there, and they were doing their own investigation, and they captured in a photo this like 8-year-old boy. And when you look at the photo, when he showed us the photo, it's clear as day. Like there's it's not this fuzzy or like vaporous image. It's a solid boy. And he said, well, there was no 8-year-old child that came with the group. So we have no idea who this is, but it's such a solid image that you're like, this is a real human being. But what's even
Hmm.
creepier is over the boy's shoulder, there's another child who's like, this one is kind of wispy. This one looks pretty ghostly.
Yeah.
So he was telling us, he's like, yeah, this, like, maybe this 8-year-old kid, like, snuck into the building, and we happen to capture him on one of the photos, but we have no idea who this kid is. And then there's what is obviously like a ghostly looking kid behind him over his shoulder.
That's very unsettling,
Yeah, it was pretty weird. And
unexplainable.
I would have ridden it off if we hadn't had our own experiences.
Yeah. Well, the last question for you. You went in a skeptic. Um, for good reasons. I mean, couldn't explain anything, and then you come out a firm believer. What can you say about your mind changing, or just people that are skeptical about basically like a paranormal ghost where there's life after death? What can you say about that? Just wrapping up here.
I've said it so many times before. Belief is an emotional choice. It has nothing to do with evidence. You can have the best evidence in the world, and if you're not emotionally open to whatever the evidence concludes, then you're just not going to believe it. You're always going to be a skeptic. And firsthand experience is the best cure for that. It's the thing I appreciate about the show, all the insane challenges they sent me on. It's really opened, you know, my worldview up.
Hmm.
Sent me to go look for Bigfoot, and we had something banging sticks together outside our camp. We had footprints in our campsite. We spotted it on night vision once. Like, that's firsthand experience stuff. They sent us to Proctor Valley outside San Diego to hunt the Proctor Valley monster, and we recorded something with eye shine standing 8 feet off the ground. They sent us to Waverly Hills, and we had something moan at us from directly behind us. We had, stuff being moved. We had balls being kicked back at us, like stuff that just you can't fake that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you really can't. I mean,
but
yeah.
I can tell you about it. It doesn't matter. You have to experience it for yourself. And all these experiences I've had doing these challenges and stuff, like it's really started to kind of make me think there's more. There's more to this world
Hmm.
than I've believed my whole life.
Okay. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot out there. There's a lot that's unexplored. Like we were talking about Bigfoot, just the wilderness and of it's just untamed and unexplored. And this whole world, there's literally things that we can't explain. So I think that's a really good point to end on. And I guess just be open to whatever experiences you have.
Yeah, don't be a redditor. I call it being a redditor. Don't be so full of yourself. Don't be so sure of yourself when you haven't even done the preliminary research.
Hmm.
All you have is an opinion, and you're
An
dead set that
armchair,
your opinion's right.
yeah, armchair detective.
Yeah, like go out there, experience some of this stuff, and if you can come up with a naturalistic explanation, then great, you just solved the mystery.
Hmm.
But don't
Just
sit there and like poo-poo
comment.
everyone and be
Yeah,
like, "Oh, it's
downvote.
fake because of this, and I can explain it like this." Like, motherfucker, come with me to Waverly, and when something moans directly behind you, and there's nobody else in the building, you go ahead and explain that one to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's no, I mean yeah, you gotta see things with your own eyes, but I guess we're pretty much wrapped. I was gonna say, where can people follow the infographic show? Is there any kind of calendar to when this video would be dropping, and when can we see it? Because yeah, I'm pretty hyped about it.
So obviously you can watch the show on YouTube, the Infographics Show. We've got a Facebook too, where we post videos. I hear we have a TikTok. I edit a bunch of content for TikTok, so I'm assuming we have a TikTok. But like I said, I'm not on there, so um, we also have an Instagram where we post like short clips and little factoids and stuff.
Hmm.
But the video should be dropping probably in February. It's early January now. We're about to release the Proctor Valley Monster Hunt video.
Ooh.
Probably in the next week or so. But I'm guessing February is when it's going to be dropping.
Okay. Okay. We'll keep an eye on that. And yeah, I mean, if this conversation really has me looking forward to that video. And I love the Bigfoot video. That was fun to watch, and especially as a Bigfoot fan. So I'm always like, I mean, little biased that I know you and seen some of the content on the channel, but it's always nice to watch some of your videos, my friend. It's
I
always
appreciate that.
yeah, they always feel well researched and articulated, and yeah, it's cool just knowing the challenge guy. And yeah.
Well, we are going back in springtime to probably that same location. So there will be a follow-up to the Bigfoot Challenge.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we'll have to have you on for that again too.
It'll be a much better trip, better
Oh,
equipment,
yeah.
more prepared.
Gotta bring some jerky for the squash.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us, challenge guy. Hope to have you on soon. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We've been professionally unprofessional.